This week has been Severe Weather Preparedness Week here across Missouri and Kansas, and we've been sharing with you all the different safety facts to keep you and your family safe as we head into severe weather season. But it's not just us, the broadcast meteorologists, that make sure you are safe. We work as well very closely with the National Weather Service as we get those watches and warnings to make sure you're informed. I would like to take the time to introduce to you the senior meteorologist at our local National Weather Service office in Kansas City, Mr. Chris Bowman. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us, Chris. I know it's been a busy week for you guys at NWS.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here and share the information that we have and continue to strengthen the partnerships that we have, because we essentially have the same mission, and it's to protect the public from the severe weather and winter weather that we do get in this area.
No, I've always enjoyed the partnership, Chris, and I'm looking forward to doing it with you guys again this year. So let's start off with Severe Weather Awareness Week. This is something we do on an annual basis. What is the primary goal of this week?
The primary goal is just to get people back in the mindset of transitioning from winter into our thunderstorm season that we generally have here. Just to get people to think about any kind of plans that they need to take in case severe weather threatens their home. The methods that we use to issue the warnings and the watches that we have. But really the biggest thing is just to think about being prepared for severe weather.
And obviously this year has been abnormally warm, and I know that's been a trend we've been seeing over the last couple of years. I mean, because usually prime time for severe weather season here in Missouri and Kansas is usually April through early June. But have you guys been noticing a trend with warmer temperatures happening earlier in the year? Are you guys noticing more of an early start to severe weather season?
That's a good question. I've done some informal research for other things with a GIS class, and I have found that as far as like significant hail goes, it is trending earlier in the year. And so significant hail being like baseball size hail and bigger, that actually is trending earlier in the year. And I'm not entirely sure of the reason. That would need to be further studied. But things are. This year especially has been very abnormally warm. I believe when you factor like all of February and like the first part of March, it's one of the warmest starts to the year that we've experienced here in Kansas City.
So let's talk about first the different types of severe weather. Everyone just thinks of tornadoes, but there's more to just severe weather than tornadoes. There's flash flooding, there's severe thunderstorms. Let's start off with lightning. Let's talk about the dangers of lightning.
Lightning is very dangerous. It happens. It happens with all thunderstorms. Have lightning. So you could have a thunderstorm that's not necessarily severe, that's not producing big hail, damaging winds, or tornadoes, and it has lightning. So we wouldn't actually issue any kind of advisory for just lightning because it happens with all the thunderstorms. So that's why it's important for people to just be aware that you could have a non-severe thunderstorm producing lightning, and you shouldn't be you should be taking caution to protect yourself from that. There's numerous people are struck by lightning every year. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's a dangerous part of all thunderstorms is lightning. So definitely when you hear thunder, it's time to head inside to just protect yourself from the lightning strikes that happen with all thunderstorms.
Yes, the old saying goes, when thunder roars, go indoors. That was the saying I was telling people earlier on Tuesday for Severe Weather Awareness Week when we were focusing on lightning. But let's go ahead and turn the attention to severe thunderstorms. I know over the last couple of years, the National Weather Service and NOAA has been testing out the criteria for different severe thunderstorm warnings. Can you break that down for us, Chris?
Yeah, I'll do my best. So we have for severe thunderstorms, we start out with a baseline of around 58 miles an hour for wind gusts, and then hail right around the size of a quarter. And so that's kind of like where we start at with what we classify as a severe thunderstorm. Um, moving higher, we get into higher levels of alerts, if you will, based on how strong the wind gusts are and how big the hail is. And as you get into like 75 mile an hour wind gusts or baseball size hail, you're starting to get into the thunderstorm warnings that would start to trigger the wireless emergency alerts.
And obviously tornadoes, that is a big one. You know,
Yeah,
yesterday, yeah, go right ahead. I'm sorry, Chris.
yeah, tornadoes make up part of a subset of severe thunderstorms. But when we feel that there is a threat of tornadoes, we will issue a tornado warning rather than a thunderstorm warning. And so there's different levels of tornado warnings, if you will, or like the messaging that goes in with the warning itself. And probably the highest end of those would be if we have reports of a large damaging tornado that's on the ground. We would go as high as doing a tornado emergency. And we've issued one of those at this office for it was back in, I believe, 2019 for the Linwood, Kansas tornado. And that's about the highest end that will go, and that we need to have confirmation that it's on the ground doing damage and is a major threat to life and property.
Speaking of the watches and the warnings, let's talk about the process, of you looking at what is the process of doing a watch and a warning? I mean, obviously you guys have great communication with the Storm Prediction Center out in Norman, Oklahoma. They issue, the risk of severe weather, as far as 7 days out with their convective outlooks. And then as we get closer to the event, you guys start talking more to them if there is a specific threat for us here in Missouri and Kansas. Talk about the process that goes into issuing these watches and warnings, Chris.
Yeah. So when we issue any kind of thunderstorm watch or tornado watch, that's all coordinated through the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. They are also a part of NOAA and the Weather Service, and we will get an alert on our systems that they've scheduled a conference call, and we'll actually dial in and hold a conference call with the forecasters from SPC, and it usually is like the offices involved. It basically involves like, are you good with what we've proposed, or do you want to remove a county or add a county or several counties? And so there's this give and take. A lot of the times, what they've proposed is good. Other times, we want to add another county or two just to make sure that we're covered with that. So they will then, after that conference call, they will send out the actual watch product, and that goes out over the radios and alerts the public to that. The potential for severe thunderstorms or tornadoes. As far as the warnings go, those all are done locally by our meteorologist. We all have pretty extensive training. In addition to the background training of a meteorology degree, we all go through a pretty extensive radar training school on the interpretation of radar. And then the actual kind of knobology of issuing the warnings themselves. And that process, like when we're in storm scanning mode and we're actively in warnings, we can get a warning out in a couple seconds and that instantly goes out to the public.
And obviously, it's not just us here in TV that gets the warning, the message out there. I mean, there's multiple ways people can get warnings, and that's something that we've been talking about all week. It's not just watching us here on KQ2. It's also making sure your phone has the emergency alert system. You know, your television has the emergency broadcast system, the NOAA weather radios, the tornado sirens. I mean, that's the importance, because the sirens, and this is something that we talk about a lot, the tornado sirens are only specifically for outdoors, correct?
Yeah, the tornado sirens are actually outdoor alert sirens, and so they are specifically for alerting people that are outdoors. We get some questions or feedback, if you will, about how like it didn't the sirens didn't wake me up. One, the weather's the warning outdoor alert sirens are controlled by local municipalities, so we don't have any control over how they're alarmed or triggered. Um, so that's just one method of getting an alert. Weather radio is another method, and a phone app. Like I have an app on my phone. You know, usually I'm kind of aware of the weather going on, but I like to have an app on my phone as well. Just maybe sometimes I'm asleep. It's always good to have multiple ways to get weather alerts when weather turns violent in this part of the world.
And I know we have touched base about lightning, severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, and everyone thinks, oh, these are all deadly killers for weather. Yes, they're all responsible for deaths, but what people don't realize is that water is deadly, and flash flooding is the number one killer of severe weather, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Flash flooding is a major severe weather threat for thunderstorms. Um, you know, it only takes a couple inches of water to sweep people off their feet. Maybe takes 6 inches to a foot of water to start moving a car. Um, and there's there's a lot of like low crossings in Missouri where people can get kind of lulled into a sense of security that, oh, it's just a little bit of flowing water. Well, you may not be able to see that it's washed out the culvert that the water usually flows through, and you could be driving essentially off a cliff and into rapidly moving water. So yeah, flash flooding is a major concern for severe weather, especially in this part of the world where we're kind of in the eastern plains. We have Ozarks to our south with all these low water crossings. It makes, when you get a lot of rain, it makes for dangerous conditions on roads.
And especially for us here in St. Joe, we're right next to the Missouri River. And I know in the history that I've lived here, I remember it in 2019 when we had the major river flooding event. And
Yeah.
so we also have to worry about river flooding here in Northwest Missouri and Northeast Kansas. So there's two different types of flooding we have to worry about.
Yeah, definitely. There's flash flooding, which as the name kind of alludes to, it happens pretty rapidly. You have an excessive amount of rainfall in a short period of time, and that can lead to rapid rises in either small creeks, streams. Culverts could wash out that way. All of that feeds into the major rivers in the area, including the Missouri River. And then that can lead to what we call river flooding. And river flooding is especially dangerous, especially as you get higher and higher levels on the rivers. And we actually have our office is co-located with the Missouri Basin River Forecast Center, and so they handle all of the basically we handle the water that's falling out of the sky, and once it hits the ground, like it becomes their concern. And so they will issue the forecasts, and they're always available to us as the local forecast office to get their expertise on river flooding. And it's such a great resource to have them locally, because I can literally just go across the hall and talk to them about the flooding, and they really are experts in that field.
And, we basically have now touched base all the different types of severe weather. The best everyone can do is just making sure they're prepared and ready for the upcoming severe weather season. What, for you guys at the National Weather Service, what do you want our viewers here in Northwest Missouri and Northeast Kansas to know when it comes to getting ready for the severe weather season ahead?
Yeah, the biggest thing is just being weather aware. There's multiple ways. Now is the time to kind of figure out like how you're going to receive warnings. And I touched on having a weather app. We talked about weather radios. We always stress having multiple ways to receive warnings. No one way is probably 100% effective 100% of the time. So it's always good to have redundant ways to get warnings. It's always good to just have a plan in place. Know where you're going to go in your house if you get threatened by a really significant severe thunderstorm or tornadoes. Have this is what we did in our house, which kind of changes as my three boys grow up. But having a place in the basement where you have shoes that actually fit, and that's something now you can take the time to figure out. Oh, hey, we can have this pair of shoes, and that people might ask, like, well, why would you do that? It's like, well, if in case your neighborhood gets hit by a tornado or violent winds, you don't want to be walking out in all that debris in bare feet. So that's just one simple thing that people might overlook. But another thing, having a charger for your cell phone, having maybe an AM radio in case other methods of communications go down temporarily. So you can always have that as a resource when you and now is the time to make those plans when severe weather strikes.
Yeah, definitely. We tell people we want you to be ready now. We don't want you to be ready when the actual event happens. It's important to be ready now, so when the actual event does happen, you can put your plan into action. Chris, it was.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go right ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I was just gonna build on what you said. Now is the time to plan, and like you said. The time to plan is not when you get your tornado warning on your phone or over the weather radio and you're like, oh, what do I do? It's like, now's the time to make those plans. And so when you have to take action, you know exactly what to do.
Chris, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. It is going to probably be a very busy season ahead for us, so I know this is not going to be the last time we're going to speak, but we appreciate you taking the time talking to us today, and good luck this upcoming severe weather season.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you to all your viewers for tuning in. Appreciate it.